At 25, I was the family disappointment. At 30, I was the one who signed their eviction notice. But let's rewind to the night it all started, when my dad raised his glass, smiled at my brother, and said, "We wish Mike were our only child." I used to think family was unconditional, that no matter how far I fell, they'd be there to catch me. Turns out love had a price tag, and I couldn't afford it. It was a rainy Sunday evening. I was 25, sitting at my parents' dinner table celebrating my brother Mike's promotion. He had just become a senior executive at my dad's firm. My father was beaming with pride. My mother's eyes glittered with tears. Then there was me, sitting quietly, trying to be invisible. I was unemployed, recovering from a layoff and a messy breakup, still figuring out my life. Dad raised his glass and said, "To Mike, the son I always dreamed of having." Then he turned to me, chuckling, "We wish Mike was our only child." Everyone laughed, except me. The laughter faded when they realized I wasn't smiling. Mom looked down at her plate. Mike muttered something awkward about it being a joke, but Dad didn't take it back. He just said, "Well, maybe she'll find her purpose someday." That night, something broke inside me, but not in the way they thought. I quietly decided they'd regret those words one day. After that dinner, I moved out. I didn't have much, a few boxes, a cheap apartment, and the drive to prove them wrong. For months, I worked 2 jobs, daytime receptionist, night shift freelance writer. I barely slept, but I learned fast. I started writing business blogs, then ghostwriting for CEOs, then building clients who paid real money. In my free time, I studied marketing, branding, psychology, anything that could give me an edge. Mike kept showing off his success online. Luxury cars, office promotions, family dinners I wasn't invited to. My parents liked and commented on every post. When I texted Mom once just to check in, she replied, "You should really focus on finding a real job like your brother." That text hurt more than the dinner ever did. But I didn't reply. I just worked harder. 2 years later, I landed my first major contract, writing and managing brand campaigns for a new tech startup. My work clicked with investors, and soon I wasn't just their writer. I was offered a partnership. We grew fast. A 3-person team became 50. Within 4 years, I co-owned one of the fastest-growing digital branding firms in the city. I didn't post anything online. I didn't brag. My silence was my weapon. Then one day, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. It was Mom. Her voice was trembling. "Honey, your father's company is in trouble. They lost a big client. We might lose the house." I froze. That house, the same one I grew up in, the same one where they laughed at me, was now at risk. She continued, "Mike's trying to save it, but could you maybe lend us something? Just for a while?" Something inside me smiled. Not cruelly, just poetically. I asked for the details of their mortgage. Then I told her I'd see what I could do. Weeks later, through my business network, I discovered something incredible. My dad's company, debt, was being auctioned off by their bank. So I did what any disappointment would do. I bought it. Through a shell firm, I acquired their debt and ownership rights of their failing company. It was legal, clean, silent. They had no idea. 3 months later, my father received a formal letter. "Notice of asset transfer. Your company has been acquired by a new owner." The new owner was me. I didn't gloat. I didn't call them. But I waited, because I knew they'd come. A year later, Christmas Eve, Mom texted me out of the blue. "Your father's health isn't good. Please come for dinner." Part of me wanted to ignore it, but curiosity won. When I arrived, the house felt smaller, quieter. My once boastful father looked tired. Mom was nervous. Mike wasn't there. Dinner was awkward until Dad finally sighed and said, "We lost the company. Some new owner took over and shut us out completely." He didn't know I was the one who signed his termination papers. I asked softly, "Did you ever find out who bought it?" He shook his head. "No. Whoever they are, they destroyed everything I built." I leaned back, smiled faintly, and said, "Some people just need to learn what they're worth." Then, as I stood to leave, Mom grabbed my hand. "Please, we're losing the house too. Can you help us?" I pulled a folded document from my bag and placed it on the table. It was a check made out to myself. "I already did," I said. "That's your final payment notice. You just didn't realize who bought your debt." Their faces went pale. For once, they were speechless. I walked out that night with no tears, no anger. Just a strange, peaceful emptiness. Sometimes revenge isn't about shouting or fighting or proving anyone wrong. It's about becoming someone they can never reach again. My father never called after that. Mom tried once more, but I didn't answer. And when I passed their old house months later, a for sale sign stood in the yard. I didn't stop, I just smiled. Because finally, I wasn't disappointed. I was the lesson.